Well, hello there and good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. I am Frost PDP, and today I want to talk about a suggestion Arumba made. You're looking at his stuff right now, and it's a suggestion he made about Marshall's score, and I want to expand on it a little bit because it's an interesting idea. It's a little unorthodox this way I'm doing this video. I'm like using open broadcast software to switch scenes. It's could be a little weird, so just bear with me. But first of all, I want to play you what he says and let you kind of hear it from him because he's the source, and then I'm going to give you like my kind of feedback commentary on it. So without any further ado, let's cut to Arumba in his Crusader Kings 2 Kingdom of David campaign, talking about Marshall's score as it relates to siege leadership in particular. He's annoyed that he doesn't have a siege leader, which I sympathize with. And let's just see what he has to say and how it works.
Take it, and here's the reason I mention it. I want to take it one step further, and I want to make it so, like, every point in Marshall does a little bit of something.
Okay, so every point in Marshall does a little bit of something. Hold that thought. Let's hear a little more. Let's see what he has to say, if there's any more that's relevant, or if he switches topics.
So that you don't have this... I don't know. I just feel like this whole, like, only ever having one damn siege leader on the whole freaking planet is the way I feel. That can actually, like, give you this monstrous bonus to siege speed or movement speed is dumb. And every Marshall score should give you a little bit. Still have the traits, but, like, I would do this. I would cut the effect of the trait in half and then give everybody half. So that siege leaders are still better. They're just not the only one.
Okay, so that's the core of his argument, right? Taking siege leaders and making them better, making them more effective. Now, I'm switching scenes over to my Crusader Kings 2 window, so hopefully that transitions well. Looks like it did. I have to set the sound for Crusader Kings back up even, because I turned it off. And so now we have a little relaxing background music while I talk. What he's suggesting is essentially that if you have a Marshall score of whatever it is, it boosts siege leadership. Okay. I think that's a little limited. I think, first of all, if you're going to do it for Marshall, you have to do it for all of your stats, no matter what. That's just built in, right? Like, if Marshall's going to have incremental bonuses, Stewardship's going to. Now, we kind of know that it does already. You know that if you go to Council and you see your counselors, why are you locked away? I guess, are we in all seclusion? We are. Okay, never mind. But, like, she's got this person has an intrigue of 21, so she's got a better chance of stealing technology. This person has a Marshall score of 10. He's terrible. Why do I even have him as my Marshal? Well, anyway, he's in Ostergotland, and he can raise troops based on his score, right? So you already know there's some incrementalism in the game. Should it apply to traits? Well, I think Arumba is not misdiagnosing the problem, because it can be really frustrating to try to find any leader with any traits. I'm going to go to my own commander screen for a minute here. And just, I got to find commanders anyway, so look at this. There's nobody with any traits. Nobody, nothing useful. I mean, like, there's an architect. There's an administrator, who I'm picking just because he's got a 0. But he's considered an incompetent commander. I mean, does he even provide a thing? I'm getting sidetracked. I just want to see, like, alright, he provides... No, that's not even him. This guy. Does this even provide... It provides 10% movement speed just because he's got a Marshal of 0. So Administrator provides Marshal speed. It's the same sort of thing. It's like a bootleg organizer. Just like Architect is a bootleg siege leader, which is where our topic is. We're talking about siege leaders, and in particular, really we're talking about military traits, like foot leader, like anything. And I think the answer to that, and you can see these here, right? Like, it's certainly like, how do you deal with this? I think an answer can be found in some of the things introduced with the court physician, who I should probably have one of these. The court physician can, if you, through a random event, ask to be sent off to get training in being a doctor, and it could turn him into like a better doctor. There should be an option. And I know there's already a random event where some character with a military trait like Inspiring Leader will offer to teach that trait to all of your other commanders for a favor, and that's not a bad thing either. but there should be a way to send commanders off on, training quests to go become a better soldier, where they could pick up these different things. Now, you don't want it to be too easy for the player to abuse and pick and choose what they get, but at least being able to send your commanders off, like, you will go pick up a skill now, or you will train under this person, and that would be a way to get favors really easy, like, I want Jarl Bertil to train in Inspiring Leader. I can make that request to him. I can say, Vassal, you're a commander, you will train so-and-so, and I will either pay you gold or I will owe you a favor. But Arumba's final statement was, does this make the game easier or harder? Does it make the game better or worse? It would have to make the game easier, but it could make the game deeper. And I think that's really where, as CK2 continues to get new expansion packs and get better stuff, I think it's going to be a case of, does the game get broader or deeper? Is it a shallow pool that extends for miles, or is it a deep pool that goes down thousands of feet? I could see, based on like other role-playing games, like, yeah, if you went to incremental, martial score of 18, there could be you could click this button and there could be a little box that pops up with all different like martial attributes. Like, all right, do you want to spend, like, you have 18 points. You could select up to 18 points worth of leadership skills, like direct leader. You could be a direct leader, that could cost 10, and then you'd have 8 left, and you could pick other combat traits that would add up, or you could boost your personal combat skill. So that's one way to handle this. But you would need the same for stewardship. Like, all right, stewardship, do you get like better city vassal opinion, whatever? But that would almost duplicate the already existing, virtues and vices system. I mean, like, if you're kind, you get -2 intrigue, +2 diplomacy. Like, how would that work? How would losing traits work? It would be really complicated to add in. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea to be able to use increments to buy skills, or for like someone with a high martial to just have better siege. I mean, if you look at someone like Belisarius, who I don't even think you could find in the game, but maybe that's just something I could do for fun. He would be like an amazing siege leader, because he just happened to always find ways to win sieges. But I don't think it really is the right question to ask, should more martial add to more abilities? Is really just, how do you distribute the abilities you already have? Like, if I have this skill, could I teach it to someone else? The answer should be yes, in exchange for a favor. I should be able to offer to teach it to a commander for a favor. Now, that commander may say no based on my reputation, or based on his political needs, or whatever. Or he may not be able to afford a favor, or might not be able to afford the money I would charge as an alternative. But yeah, I would think proliferation isn't a bad thing. I would think Brilliant Strategist should be able to get 3 military traits. The one below this should get 2, and everyone else should be able to get 1. And maybe even learn a second if you're taught it. Sort of like, it calls to me like Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition, where you have spells, like level 1 spells, and you can know up to like 3, or you can have 3 memorized or whatever. And then your intelligence score advances you to a 4th one, maybe. Like, to me, that's what it sounds more like than anything. And I don't know, I mean, it's an answer to Arumba's question. I don't know if it's really helpful, but it's sort of a deeper ponderance, and maybe you guys will have an opinion that's different than mine. Please leave me a comment, hit me up here on the subreddits or whatever. I mean, like, it's a thought, but it's something to consider, because it's not a bad idea. But it's implementation, and I think it's more just a matter of like being able to get more of these things in place. Because if I go to my commanders, and I again go to look through this list, and I sort by martial, I mean, the guy who has, wrong button, 10 martial, by the way, is my highest guy. That's pretty pathetic. Elusive Shadow, like, he should still be able to have 1 military thing. Maybe it would have to be something tied to like aggressive leader, or like trickster or something. Maybe this guy would be able to have like defender, because he's Midas touched. So he could be a defender. It could also like do a thing like narrow flank or whatever, like Mastermind Theologian. I wish I could see someone who was patient real fast, because I think patient adds to military. Let's quickly check that, because it's relevant. So someone who's patient gets defense plus 20%, right? So maybe virtues could have associated things, like greedy might be you're ambitious or something, and you might make mistaken attacks. I don't know. Something like that could be more relevant to combat as well. But CK2 isn't necessarily combat focused unless you're looking at the broad game of trying to blob out and, I'm doing a Northeast campaign, you can kind of see, oh, things have changed over here too, interesting. But, if you want to go for depth and character development, and alright, I'm Filker Vagan and I'm 37 and I'm going to have this character for the next 20 years and I want to really develop him as a story, then you're looking at a very different game than you're looking at as just how many levies can I raise, how fast can I expand. It's a very different thing, and people who play this want different things. Some people really do want character development. If you read AARs on the Crusader Kings subreddit, you'll see that. So that's my answer to Arumba. That's my answer to the general consensus of how can you better, I don't want to say metastasize combat, and that's a little Gideon face cancer joke, but how could you better spread the wealth in terms of combat skills, and maybe that would even provide more control over combat itself, because combat is so random when you have just random tactics being picked. That would give you more control over what your commanders actually will do in the field. If they're defenders, if they're unyielding, if they're going to stand their guard, you know that going in. You know what their strategies are going to be going in. They're going to pick defensive strategies, whereas if they're aggressive leader, they're going to pick more aggressive strategies. That would actually be a really good way to resolve this entire debate over combat and how, it really just comes down to who has more bodies in a melee. So, those are my thoughts. Feel free to leave a comment and disagree with me. Feel free to whatever. But I want to thank you all for joining me, and as always on my channel, La Paz.